Welcome back, friends. We are leaving Arizona after exploring some of Saguaro National Park. We are traveling to Amarillo, Texas for a very special engagement before heading to Big Bend National Park. I'm a huge fan of the Epic Family Road Trips YouTube channel. So much so that I recently decided to help fund their adventures through a subscription on Patreon. A little over a month ago, I received a message from them saying that they were selling both of their CVT Mount Hood rooftop tents. I was looking to upgrade my current tent to something more user-friendly and jumped at the chance to purchase one of theirs. I was able to make the purchase and made arrangements to pick it up and have it installed at a business in Amarillo.
I'll be used to driving Jeeps where you can't see out.
We need some of those flashlights with the cones on them. Cone back.
Tell me what you think, Terrence. I mean, we're going to come back to where you want it at.
No, that's fine.
You want it right there?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
How's your edge guy?
Okay, right now I'm an inch past. Okay,
I need 45 inch at the very bottom.
Yep. That's pretty darn close.
All right. I don't know how we're gonna tighten these down, dude. I'm just gonna loosen this up to the nutlock. It's just bare over there.
Okay.
We got it on there finally.
It was?
It was super fun. It's on there though. It ain't going nowhere. All right. Raise it. Yeah. Exercise instructions.
So then you fold that all the way down.
Pete showed me that when it opens up with that bungee on there, you pull it down and hook it right down here. And then when you get ready to close it, then pop it back up there.
Okay.
So you'll have to, utilize your ladder on both sides probably to do that.
Well, thank you very much. You bet. It's been a pleasure having y'all out here, and really admire y'all coming all the way out from California for this.
If we're talking on camera, we're going to have to be louder because the wind is just going to block this right out.
I appreciate you selling me your old tent.
Yeah, I'm glad it's going to a good home. We've had a lot of great adventures up there. We chose that style, we've had every style of tent you can imagine, but just for the ease of usage, putting it up, taking it down, especially when it was just me and Carol, we didn't have the kids to help out.
Right.
That style of tent is just excellent for
Well,
that.
I saw your videos when you first got these, and I told my wife, I'm like, we need to get a Mount Hood tent.
Yeah.
Not only can I get a Mount Hood tent, I can get an Epic Family
That's right.
Mount Hood tent.
The original.
So.
Yeah, and they're hard. Everything's back ordered, right now. It's sold out on a lot of them. So yeah, you got yourself a good tent. And, well, you guys are heading up to Paladero?
So we just came from Saguaro National Park, and then tomorrow in the morning after we go to the Paladero State Park, we're going to go to Big Bend National
nice.
Park.
Love that place.
White Sands, Carlsbad Caverns, Petrified Forest, and Guadalupe Mountains.
Nice. We'll stay in touch and get some intel, maybe hit the beach together or something.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for supporting the channel, and
I'm glad to have
I hope you get a lot of
the tent. Yeah, it's going to be a game changer. Today is March 25th, 2022, and we're spending a few days in Big Bend National Park. This is our second stop on our trip to 6 national parks. The first thing I do when I arrive at any national park is to take care of business. That means I visit the visitor center to have my park passport stamped, buy stickers, and look for patches. Our first destination at Big Bend was to the historic Hot Springs district. This 2-mile gravel road descends down a rough, narrow wash to the trailhead for the hot springs. The hot springs of Big Bend have long been a focal point for tourists and travelers in the desert. But these hot mineral waters represent more than just a destination for visitors to the national park. For J.O. Langford and his family, They represented health, business, and home. And for several decades in the early 20th century, the hot springs were also the center of a desert community.
Hey, look, trinkets.
Miles to the spring. All right, let's go. In 1909, J.O. Langford was sitting in the lobby of the Alpine Hotel when he overheard someone discussing the miraculous healing properties of the hot springs in the Big Bend country. Another person might have been skeptical of claims that the mineral water could cure any disease, but Langford had been ill since contracting malaria as a child, and had been looking for relief from his pains and sickness ever since. In fact, he was so interested in these springs that he immediately set out to purchase the land surrounding them, down in a remote, lonely country that he had never even laid eyes on. Langford set out 2 weeks later with his pregnant wife Bessie and their young daughter Lovey, and traveled for 10 days before finally reaching their new home on the Rio Grande. Regaining his health was a priority, so as soon as they arrived, Langford began his treatment. For 21 days, he drank and bathed in the mineral water of the spring, which at its source reaches 105 degrees. And soon, he felt healthier and stronger than ever. Langford recognized the value of the springs, and he immediately set up a business. He built a bathhouse and developed his land into a desert health resort.
Did you do that on purpose?
Unfortunately, border troubles related to the Mexican Revolution forced the Langfords to abandon their home not long after they had built it. Bands of raiders terrorizing small villages throughout Mexico were pushing further north and crossing the Rio Grande, and many people in the area fled to less turbulent territory. The Langfords moved to El Paso, where they lived for 14 years. We stopped at a park near the Rio Grande village for a quick charcuterie lunch before heading over to the Boquillas Canyon Overlook. From the Boquillas Canyon Overlook, you can see the village of Boquillas, Mexico, just across the Rio Grande. This is also a great place to photograph the Sierra del Carmen's and Boquillas Canyon. Along with the Morisco and Santa Elena canyons, these three canyons are one of the major reasons for the creation of Big Bend National Park.
And come look at this. Jeez. Do you need a Roadrunner apron?
Baby on that stick. That's pretty cute.
Would you use it?
No.
Luckily, we didn't purchase any of the trinkets we found at various locations like this throughout the park. During research for this video, I learned that it's illegal to purchase these items. I contacted a national park representative for clarification, and he confirmed that it was illegal to buy any of these items.
$10.
The reason being is that the vendors cross illegally to place them here, and it's a practice the park wants to discourage. I asked what the penalty was for buying something, and he said it's basically a stern talking to, because park rangers aren't out to ruin anyone's vacation.
In 400 feet, arrive at Rancho Topanga Campgrounds on the left.
For some reason, my Garmin Overlander doesn't always take me to the right location. And this was one of those times.
You should be right at the driveway by now.
Yep, we are.
Found it.
Okay,
All right, and we'll see you in a minute.
you bet.
Bye. Rancho Topanga is a privately owned campground for tent camping only, with occasional availability for small pop-up or teardrop campers. All sites are designed to be camper-friendly, safe, and comfortable. Their entire family are avid campers, so they know what campers want and need to relax. They have beautiful views of the mountains, breathtaking views of the night sky, and fossils galore.
Is this one serving per person? It should be done in another couple of minutes.
Dump this in.
How much of the sausage would you like in there?
Whatever looks good. It's really good. This looks like a cowboy kitchen to me. What do you think?
Rustic.
I'm going to try a camping hack for cleaning dishes. It's water and vinegar. It should conserve on water, and the vinegar will cut the grease. So far, it seems to be working. What do you think?
Jury's still out.
The next morning, we drove the Maxwell Scenic Drive that leads to Santa Elena Canyon. The road showcases some of the historic and geologic features this region is famous for. One stop along the way was a homestead once active in the Big Bend. The remnants of Sam Nail Ranch now provide shade and a habitat for desert wildlife. A windmill still pumps water and attracts an interesting variety of bird life. Sit quietly on the bench and listen for javelinas moving through the brush, or enjoy watching painted buntings, green-tailed towhees, and mockingbirds. A little side trail. I wonder what that was. Chicken coop or something? It can't be a home camp. Ouch. It can't be a home.
Rancher's Oasis. In this green shade, it is easier to understand how Sam and Nina, Nail, could adapt to life in the desert. Here, they dug a well, put in a garden, and built holding pens for horses, chickens, and a milk cow. Like other ranchers in the area, the Nails ran stock and dealt with drought, predators, and isolation. The Nail family has left the Big Bend, but the well they dug still pumps, keeping their trees and shrubs alive. Listen for birdsong and rustlings in the grass. Life continues to thrive at the oasis.
Well, it's turning, but is it pumping water up?
It looks like it, because you can see the pipes going up and down.
Oh, right, but there'd be water, I think.
It looks like it's all sealed.
Yeah, I think the guy, they told me at the park entrance there that the... Oh yeah, see there'd be water coming out here. Mm-hmm. He said it'd been broken for over a year now.
Water coming out where?
Right here.
The pipe.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, because it comes up and pumps out
Which
here.
makes sense, which is why the sign says don't drink.
Yeah, don't drink it, but the birds used to come for the water. And so since there's been no water, no birds.
No, it was a lot greener when we were here.
And it was green. And there was water.
And that was working.
Because it was behind the reeds and my camera won't focus. It focuses automatically and it won't.
Uh-huh.
If there's anything in front of it, you can't get it.
This was part of their old homestead, I think, when we did the walk. The ranger was bringing it.
Yeah, the story was actually quite interesting.
Yeah. But they just didn't do the walks at 9 a.m.
This is really cool. You can still see like the straw that they used.
Yeah, I can see it from here. You know, like.
It sounds hollow.
The Soto Vista Overlook gives an unparalleled vista of the entire western side of the Big Bend National Park, including the magnificent Santa Elena Canyon, which is just a notch far off in the distance. I highly recommend seeing the Lower Borough Mesa pour-off. A well-used half-mile path winds through a sandy area with cacti and bushes, and then follows the course of a dry stream bed to the base of a high, vertical cliff, where occasional floodwaters pour down from a narrow slit in the rock from 100 feet above. The stream has carved a smooth channel in the cliff face, exposing pretty colors and strata.
Is that her?
How far is it?
We're about a mile down, mile back.
Santa Elena Canyon is one of the crown jewels of Big Bend National Park, and something you don't want to miss. A 1.8-mile round-trip nature trail crosses Terralingo Creek, climbs several flights of stairs, and then descends into the canyon along the Rio Grande. At this point, the canyon walls loom 1,500 feet above the river below. The right side of the canyon is the United States, and the left side is Mexico. This region is known as the Rio Grande Wild and Scenic River and lies within the U.S. Biosphere Reserve. Through an agreement with Mexico, this area has been set aside for conservation by both countries. A park official I spoke with stated that both banks of the river in this area are accessible for canoeing and camping without fear of retribution from either country. I wanted to make sure I understood clearly that it was permissible to touch Mexican soil, and he replied, yes. In fact, the best camping is on the Mexican side of the river. Mexico. Fact. Whew.
You'll be dry by the time we get back to the car.
I'll be dry, that's for sure.
Thanks so much. Hi.
We're driving a few miles up Old Maverick Road from Santa Elena Canyon. I'm looking for the ruins of Terlingua Abaja. It's a deserted farming village that supplied produce for miners and ranchers in the area from 1900 until the 1930s. We will have to cross the Terlingua Creek to get to the heart of the rock and adobe ruins. I passed this camper van several times as it moved slowly over the washboard road. It would pass me every time I stopped to set up my camera for another shot. There's a remote campground in the area, which is where they're probably headed. The road apparently gets worse the further in you go, so I'm not sure how far they will get. I'm trying to find the old Terlingua ghost town. It's not marked on any maps, and a ranger told me there's no trail to it. You have to bushwhack. Apparently, it's down the creek or on the other side of the creek. I think I saw a mound of dirt, which, if my research serves me correctly, it's at the base of that mound. But it's too late in the day to try to attempt it. It's 98 degrees out here. It's almost 5 o'clock. Christy's waiting in the Jeep. If I take too long, she's gonna get worried. And I don't want her coming out here stomping around looking for me. So I'm gonna call it quits and head back to the Jeep. I think it's that way. So I was on my way back to the Jeep, and I went the opposite direction from what I pointed to in the last video clip. My army training kicked in. I headed to higher ground, and I think I can see it off in the distance. Let's go take a look. This isn't the main section of ruins, but it's going to have to do for this trip. I was lucky to find this. The name Terlingua actually applies to a mining district, and there were 3 different settlements located here. The first settlement in the area was a Mexican village located on Terlingua Creek, 3 miles above its confluence with the Rio Grande, which is where we just came from. In the mid-1880s, cinnabar was discovered, which would change the region from a single sleepy village into a mining district. By the spring of 1900, about 1,000 flasks of mercury had been extracted by the cinnabar. By that time, a new town had sprung up, and it too became known as Terlingua, and that is where we are right now. The first village was then referred to as Terlingua Abaja, or Lower Terlingua. Cinnabar production had peaked during the First World War, and by the start of the Second World War, the Chisos Mining Company had filed for bankruptcy due to a decline in production. The miners began to trickle out, and by the end of the war, Terlingua was a bona fide ghost town. This cemetery dates from the early 1900s, when Terlingua became a flourishing mercury mining town. It served the district as the final resting place for residents and mine workers that succumbed to dangerous working conditions, gunfights, and the influenza epidemic of 1918. Life was good, but could take harsh turns in the remote, untamed region known as the Big Bend. The Chisos Mining Company owned and operated the entire town of Terlingua. It ran the large general store, post office, commissary, and school. Later, it would also operate a gasoline station and a theater. The old theater is now a restaurant, which is where we chose to have dinner.
Iverson, yeah, but that one could be something that's just a big fan.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Could we get a table for 4 people, please?
Sure. If you're patient, it might take a while.
All right.
Like up to an hour and a half or so.
Okay, we'll wait. We hear the food's great.
Yeah, and the view's also great, so it's worth waiting around for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.